When you look at my face, you may only see wrinkles. But I see chapters. I see sacrifices. I see nights I cried silently, and mornings I pretended everything was fine. These lines, these marks, they were not made by age. They were carved by responsibility, sorrow, pain, and love. Today, for the first time in my life, I will tell you the truth, Beihai. And every wrinkle on my face. I was born in a house where childhood wasn't a right. It was a luxury. While other children played outside, I learned to carry water buckets, clean floors, wash utensils, and look after my younger siblings. I still remember. I was barely 7 when my mother placed her rough, tired hand on my head and said, "Beta, you're not a child anymore. You're my support now." I didn't understand the meaning, but life made me understand it quickly. My school uniform was often torn. My shoes had holes. And my bag, it was a recycled rice sack. Still, I walked to school with hope. But hope doesn't last long when you return home to a list of chores instead of homework time. My first wrinkle was not formed by age. It formed the day I realized I wasn't allowed to dream like other children. People used to say, "She is mature for her age." But they didn't know maturity was forced on me. At 13, I already knew how to manage a household. I knew how to stretch food when there wasn't enough. I knew how to comfort my mother when my father's anger filled the house. I often heard my mother cry behind closed doors. But she would wipe her tears and come out smiling, as if pain was a secret a woman must hide. I watched her, and unknowingly, I became her. Another wrinkle appeared the day I learned to swallow my tears quietly. Teenage years are supposed to be filled with friends, laughter, and silly dreams. Mine were filled with responsibilities. The first time a boy complimented me, I didn't feel shy. I felt terrified. Because I knew my family believed a girl's reputation was as fragile as glass. I wasn't allowed to go out alone. I wasn't allowed to attend school events. I wasn't allowed to speak too loudly, laugh too freely, or express too honestly. I was trained to behave like a woman, long before I even understood what it meant to be one. And a small crease formed between my eyebrows. A wrinkle born from fear, caution, and the constant pressure of behaving correctly. One evening, my father said my future had been decided. A proposal had come. A good family, they said. A responsible man, they said. But nobody asked me what I wanted. The day of my wedding, everyone said I was glowing. But behind that glow was exhaustion. The weight of leaving my home, my mother, my childhood, and stepping into a new world without any preparation. My wedding photos show a smiling bride. But if you zoom into my eyes, you will see the fear of a girl walking into the unknown. The first wrinkle of adulthood formed on my forehead that day. The wrinkle of surrender. Marriage didn't give me a partner. It gave me another list of duties. Wake up early. Cook. Clean. Serve. Repeat. My husband was not unkind. But he was distant. He believed emotions were unnecessary. Affection was weakness. And a wife's duty was simply to serve. I tried to talk to him. But every complaint was labeled overthinking. Every tear meant I was too emotional. Every feeling I shared was drama. With every unsaid sentence, a wrinkle formed around my lips. The wrinkle of silence. When I held my first child, I felt love so deep it frightened me. But motherhood wasn't easy. Sleepless nights. Endless chores. No help. No appreciated. My body changed. My emotions changed. My life changed. But the world only noticed that the rotis weren't round enough. Or the house wasn't spotless enough. I lost myself while raising my children. And for years, I didn't even notice. There are wrinkles under my eyes. Not from age. But from nights spent crying quietly while my children slept in my arms. Do you know what the hardest part of womanhood is? It's not the chores. It's not the pain. It's not the sacrifices. It's being invisible. You work all day. Give your love. Give your energy, give your youth, and still feel unseen. There were days when I cooked meals nobody appreciated. Days when I cleaned rooms nobody noticed. Days when I tried to talk, but nobody listened. Every time I felt unheard. Every time someone spoke over me. Every time I sacrificed my own needs. A new wrinkle formed on my face. These wrinkles are not ugly. They are evidence. They are proof I lived my life for others. One morning, I stood in front of the mirror. I looked at my reflection, and I didn't recognize the woman looking back. Her eyes were tired. Her smile was faint. Her skin carried lines of struggle. I touched my face gently and whispered, "When did you lose yourself?" That day, another wrinkle appeared. But this one was different. It wasn't from pain. It was from realization. A realization that I had forgotten who I was. It took me years to understand a simple truth. A woman who sacrifices everything also deserves something. A voice. A life. A moment for herself. I began to sit quietly with my thoughts. I started writing my feelings in a small notebook. I allowed myself to feel. Something I had ignored for decades. My wrinkles didn't disappear. But this time, I looked at them with pride. These lines were proof that I survived. Now, when I look in the mirror, I don't feel sadness. I feel strength. Every wrinkle is a memory. Every line is a sacrifice. Every crease is a chapter of a story only I know. People say wrinkles make a woman look old. But I believe wrinkles make a woman look real. Because a face without wrinkles is a face that has never lived. To every woman listening to me, your sacrifices matter. Your pain matters. Your story matters. Even if the world doesn't see you, you must see yourself. My wrinkles were made of sacrifice. But now, they are crowned with pride. This is my face. This is my truth. This is my story. There are things a woman carries that never get spoken. Not because she doesn't want to speak, but because she learns that nobody is really listening. For years, I carried entire storms inside me. Arguments I swallowed. Pain I hid. Dreams I buried. And questions I never dared to ask. Sometimes I would sit alone on the corner of my bed at night, hands resting on my lap, staring at the wall, wondering if anyone even knew how much I was holding inside. I wanted to scream. I wanted to say, "I matter too." But every time the words reached my lips, they died there. A deep wrinkle formed beside my mouth. The wrinkle created by every sentence I stopped myself from saying. My window was small, but the world outside it was huge. I often watched people on the streets, laughing, fighting, living freely, making choices. Choices I never had. There were women walking with confidence, women working in offices, women traveling alone, women smiling without fear. I didn't envy them. I admired them. But I also wondered, who would I have been if life had given me room to be anything at all? Every morning, when sunlight filtered through my window, I felt a strange mix of hope and grief. Hope, because the world was big. Grief, because my world was small. Another wrinkle formed across my forehead. A wrinkle born from unrealized dreams. There are days a woman's heart becomes too heavy for her chest to carry. I've had those days. Days where I stood in the kitchen stirring a pot, but my mind was drowning in exhaustion. Days where I looked perfectly fine to the world, but inside, I was collapsing. Once, after an argument, I shut the bathroom door and leaned my forehead against the cold wall. I didn't cry loudly. I didn't scream. I just let one single tear fall. Because even breaking felt like something I needed to do quietly. I was afraid of being called dramatic. I was afraid of being misunderstood. I was afraid of being seen as weak. Where do women go when they're hurting, but have no permission to show it? That's the day a new wrinkle appeared near the corner of my eye. The wrinkle of quiet heartbreak. Pain does something strange to a woman. It breaks her, but it also builds her. I learned to manage the house. Even when I was sick, I learned to hold myself together. Even when no one held me, I learned to be strong. Not because I wanted to, but because I had no other choice. And somewhere between all the exhaustion and sorrow, a fire began to grow inside me. A fire that whispered, "You have survived everything life threw at you. You will survive this too." That fire gave me courage. It gave me patience. It gave me resilience. A faint wrinkle formed along my cheek. The wrinkle created by silent strength. My children. They were the only reason I kept going. Every smile they gave me stitched a small piece of my heart back together. Every time they hugged me, I felt like God had not forgotten me. I taught them everything I was never taught. I gave them the love I never received. I protected them from the pains I had endured. But motherhood is strange. It gives life to your children, yet slowly takes life away from you. There were days I didn't eat so they could eat. Days I stayed awake so they could sleep. Days I pretended to be happy, so they would feel safe. A soft wrinkle formed under my eyes. The wrinkle of sleepless love. One day, I was cleaning the cupboard and found an old photo of myself. A young girl. Bright eyes. Untouched skin. A smile filled with dreams. For a moment, I just stared. Who was she? What happened to her? Then I looked at myself in the mirror. The difference felt like a lifetime. Because it was. Youth didn't fade from my face. It was pulled away by the demands of life. Every wrinkle, every line, every shadow was a footprint of the years I lost to survival. I sat on the edge of my bed and whispered, I'm still here. I'm still alive. But I wondered, had I really lived? Another wrinkle deepened. The wrinkle of time stolen by responsibility. People often say, she doesn't laugh much. She doesn't talk a lot. She looks strict. But they don't know that when a woman spends her whole life controlling her pain, she forgets how to freely show joy. I wasn't cold. I was cautious. I wasn't silent. I was tired. I wasn't strict. I was protecting myself from further hurt. Every expression people misunderstood was shaped by something they never noticed. The scars on my heart. A wrinkle formed diagonally on my forehead. The wrinkle of misunderstood emotions. With time, something inside me changed. Maybe it was age. Maybe it was experience. Maybe it was the realization that no one would ever tell my story if I didn't tell it myself. I began to talk more. I began to express what I felt. At first, my voice trembled, but slowly it grew steady. I learned to say no. I learned to say I'm tired. I learned to say this hurts me. I learned to say I matter. It wasn't easy, but with every truth I spoke, I felt a part of myself returning. A new wrinkle formed, but this one felt empowering. The wrinkle of rediscovered voice. Today, I sit here telling you my story, and I don't feel ashamed. I don't feel weak. I don't feel old. I feel real. These wrinkles on my face are not flaws. They are my history. They are carved from strength, from sacrifice, from survival, from love. I touch them gently now, the way one touches a book filled with memories. And for the first time in my life, my wrinkles don't make me feel less. They make me feel more, because every wrinkle I have was earned.